I'm inside and I saw the Twilight Zone Season 1, Episode 11, and When the Sky Was Open. It is directed by Douglas Hayes, written by Rod Serling, and if you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. This episode starts and we see a man. He's like, oh boy, I'm befuddled, okay? We have this guy, Ed Harrington. Where is he? Why does no one remember him? Why am I the only one that remembers him? And then it flashbacks to him hanging out with them, so I know that he's not crazy, and he's there. But you know what the symptoms were before no one started thinking about him again? Okay, no one even knows who he is because he doesn't exist anymore, because he feels like he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Well, why is that? Well, okay, these three homies were part of the spacecraft, experimental spacecraft that went up in the air and then crash landed in the desert, and then now they're here. Two of them were not injured, and then one of them has like a broken leg or whatever. So this is the start of the episode, and immediately I'm confused. I'm like, oh boy, I'm not sure what the outcome of this episode is, but I'm intrigued. Like, by the time, like, there's this guy who's like, Ed Harrington, and then I know who Ed Harrington is, at that point I'm like, oh boy, what happened? Why is Ed Harrington gone? Is it because he was in the spacecraft? And then, like, the episode kind of progresses further and further to, like, my thoughts are more so like, oh boy, we now have established that Ed Harrington is completely wiped out of existence, and we have this colonel guy. He's like freaking out. He's like going through glass doors, breaking through glass doors, saying, Harrington, Harrington, where are you, Harrington, Harrington, where is Harrington? I demand Harrington now. And everyone's like, who is Harrington? He's like, I want to see Harrington, I want to see Harrington, and I'm like, oh boy, this guy really wants to see Harrington. I hope he finds him. And he doesn't. You know why? Because he goes to the freaking bar, he sees Harrington, Harrington is like in the bar. The moment when he starts to disappear, he's like, I don't feel like I'm supposed to be here, and then he freaking walks away. This freaking colonel guy's like, oh, you need a stiff drink, I'm gonna walk away. And then he's like, oh, where's my friend's drink? The bar's like, who's this guy? And then he starts freaking out, and then he goes to the place where Harrington was at. He's not there, but then freaking Colonel Man breaking through the glass door, going into the bar again, and he sees frickin' Harrington is not there, and he's chilling in the place in which Harrington was, and then he's like, okay, I have an idea. And I'm like, okay, hit me up with your idea. His idea is to go to his mate who is also in the spacecraft with him, and he's like, yo, dude, this guy existed. And of course, I really don't like how the guy doesn't remember him. But, you know, it's the Twilight Zone, that's it. It makes me feel unsettled. I'm like, oh man, I hope this guy's truly alone, and I can feel to that. It scares me to be truly alone. So it's not so much like a story thing that I don't like it. It's good when a story makes me feel, oh boy, I hope I'm not alone like that someday. It's real good. You know, also, I really like the part in which he's like, oh, well, I'm starting to feel the thing. I'm starting to feel these feelings that my freaking Harrington friend felt. And I'm like, oh boy, he's gonna disappear too. And then, this broken leg man, he's like, but don't, wait, hold on, he needs help. And he like runs, he has a broken leg. And I'm like, oh no, his legs, don't run in your leg. I know you think it's important. He's about to go chase after him, and he doesn't see him, but the nurse is coming up, and the nurse helps him to the bed, and he's like, oh no, and I'm just thinking, looking at his face, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, oh, he's kind of terrified. I'm thinking, like, his thought process is like, oh, you know, since he kept talking about a guy who existed, and had like a guy who existed, and was describing the feelings that that guy described to him, and then that your pal that you saw had the same things. He was talking about the same things that he was talking about the friend who doesn't exist, and then he's like, oh wow, the newspaper kept changing from like 3 people in the crash to 2 people in crash, and then he sees like, oh, lone person in crash. He's like, oh wow, my friend doesn't exist anymore, and I'm not about to exist. And also I really like, oh well, he doesn't exist anymore. We gotta give this room, we have an empty room. I have holds 3 beds. Give them to the malaria people. And then like the monologue is like, you know, the people who are there also don't exist, okay? Don't ask questions. Don't ask any questions, because if you do, you might end up in a situation in which you might end up not existing. And then no one will know who you are at all. It felt like a threat. I liked it. This is a good episode. The episode ending was pretty wild. I saw it, I was like, oh jeez, well, they're just gone. What's the resolution? They're gone. These people just simply disappeared. And I'm like, what? Where'd they go? They're gone. Doesn't matter. That's the end of the episode. If you ask any more questions, you will end up into the Twilight Zone. It's a threat. I felt threatened, Rod Serling. Dang you. How about I go vigilate your grave for this crime against humanity, this threat. I feel personally threatened. Okay, I'm gonna go vigilate your grave. What does vigilate mean? Is that a word? There's a lot of tension in this episode. I felt my eyes were glued the entire time to the screen, and I was like, oh geez, what's happening? I hope this guy understands his life. I hope he gets a handle on his life. So yeah, I like the actors acting. Man, the Twilight Zone has such great actors. I feel like every time I get to this part of the review where I talk about like the acting and my favorite part about it, it's always the same because it's always so good. It's always so good. There's like, I don't feel like I catch all the things that are good about the Twilight Zone, but like the sets, the set design, I like how like populated everything is. It makes me feel like I'm in a place that's like lived in. And also they're such good actors and actresses, like the nurse. Oh, she's hot. Oh, I liked her. She's like, what are you talking about? Sir, what are you talking about? Who is he? It's like, oh geez, terrifying. And you know, it was fun. It was a fun episode. And also, I got this at Spirit Halloween, and this is a real stethoscope. Like, I can hear my heart and everything. Wow, I can't believe I'm listening to my heart. This has nothing to do with the Twilight Zone. I just wanted to show this. Anyway, I like this episode a lot. It made me have, I think the ending was pretty bonkers for me, and I really liked it when the episode ended in a pretty bonkers way, and I want to see more of it. So, I like this episode a lot. I gotta give it a solid 8 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. YouTube really likes it. If you want to fast track a movie review, you can do that for $20 redeems at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support your daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, you can go to this link tree, find the way you can help support your daily grind of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time, mint salad saw. I'll see you later, my side croutons and bacon bits. It's time to spin. Going to the Twilight Zone!